What's going on, Hoops Tribe? I'm in here for another episode with ARP, Angela Perry. Yo,
Hey,
I'm so excited to have you back on. The WNBA season is about to start once again. The most exciting league popping right now. It's like every other minute we get a new breaking news alert. A lot has been going on today. I know you're an Atlanta Dream season ticket holder.
yep.
You're hype about these roster moves that the Dream have been able to make. I want to hear, how are you feeling about this Atlanta Dream roster?
Feeling very, very positive about the team. I definitely think playoff is going to be our minimum. I think we have a real shot at a run to the championship this year. And truly looking at the team, taking my fan hat off, I really do think the Dream are a playoff level potential championship team. So I think they made some good moves, obviously, and we'll see what the season looks like.
When we look at the GM survey, there were a lot of GMs that voted Atlanta being a team that's a championship contender. Do you think with this move with Angel Reese, is that enough to win them a championship?
I mean, I think she's a huge addition. I think she's going to mesh well with the way that the team plays. I don't know that just her alone changed their trajectory from not winning to winning. I think they were already a good team. She's going to propel them to be even better is kind of how I'm looking at it.
She's coming in with such a different role than what she had in Chicago. Because I feel like with the Sky, she had to do a lot of heavy lifting. The running thing that fans would say is Angel back gotta hurt. She's carrying them right now. So now
Hmm.
she's coming into an environment where there are scorers around her, right?
Right.
Ron Howard, Alicia Gray, Brianna Jones when she's healthy. What type of fit will Angel have with the Dream?
Again, like you said, in Chicago, I mean, there were half of the game sometimes where she was bringing the ball up the court, kind of filling in as the PG and the center and the forward and kind of wherever she needed to be. Sometimes I felt like she was playing the shooting guard, or she was the first option for scoring each play, which was what it should have been in Chicago. So that made sense. But that means that each and every play, each and every time down the court, you're the main person. You're not getting those breaks that you should get in 5-on-5 basketball. So I think in Atlanta, she's going to be able to take a seat back as far as having to be the number one person in all of the metrics, right? Like Bree Jones will have her back for blocks here and there. Being able to have people collapse on her, and like you said, having shooters with higher percentages, Ryan and Alicia, to kick out for the long two or the three and be able to be confident in that pass. I think at Chicago, she'd kind of turn and look, and you're looking at, people that you may not believe in. So then what do? You try to put up a shot, and it's not always a good shot, which then hurt her field goal percentage and things like that. So I think she'll be able to actually fall into whichever role they choose to have her in, whether it's the forward or the center, and truly focus on that and improve instead of just being the weight of the entire team. Be able to add a midi, obviously be able to become more efficient because you're not having to, again, do everything all over the place.
I want to go back to your point about the trust factor. So when she would stop and look around and want to make a pass and maybe not know who to get it to based off of that trust factor. And
Right.
people don't talk about how much that matters in basketball. Like, you have to trust your teammates. You have to see the work that they put in practice and feel confident in them making this shot. Trust the whole system. She has a strong foundation in Atlanta, and I think that's going to change her confidence, and that means so much confidence. So Medina Akai, the South Carolina rookie, when I'm looking at this 2026 roster, Medina on the list, so she might get some PT. How do you think she fits in Atlanta?
I think it's a good place for her to develop. Those who don't know, Medina didn't, grow up playing basketball. She's relatively new. I think within 6 years. I was really hoping she got that year extended at South Carolina just to be able to get her more skills, more post moves. Sometimes she gets a little flustered just from a person who's watched the Gamecocks all year. But I think she's surrounded by the right people, and I think that obviously BG was on our team last year, and that's kind of in my opinion, the position she's kind of taken over. And I think when she's in her flow state, it's a easy two. Like it's almost like how when Camilla was on the Gamecocks, I felt like if we get it into her, you can head back on defense. And I think she will get to that point, but it's going to still be, learning, in my opinion.
What's interesting about Medina is that she grew up playing the sport. It has a basket, but it doesn't have a backboard.
Hmm.
So that should make her touch even better around the rim because
Right.
I have that backboard to lean on. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's just not a lot of dribbling in that, but we've been seeing her put it on the floor. Like she's putting it on the
Yeah.
deck now and driving to the basket. I felt through these preseason games that she looked confident, and
Hmm.
I didn't know how quickly she was going to be able to make an impact on the game.
Hmm.
I think it's important for every team to have a 6, 7 and up at this point. Like you need that.
Agree. Agree. I mean, honestly, even if she wasn't able to contribute a whole lot offensively, yeah, we need someone whose wingspan is up there to try to contend against an Asia or a Stewie. I mean, you cannot just have guard heavy teams at this point.
Yeah. I like that they're investing in their youth, man. Is they
Yeah.
invested in Tahina Pow. I think she's
Yes.
in for a breakout year. She didn't get the votes, and I felt like she very much so could have been on that same board with Rakia Jackson and Dominique Malonga because Tahina Pow was bubbling
Yeah.
in her rookie season.
Absolutely. It was so exciting to watch, in my opinion, at the WNBA draft. Don's teams don't always get the respect to go earlier than they should. Sometimes I think if Pow Pow had still been at Oregon, she would have been a top 10, although Oregon wasn't as successful as a team. But to watch her go from, I think she was second round something, to I think once we get in the W season, you really only have like maybe 5 or 6 rookies that are like actually contributing to their teams. And Tahina was a true backup and was able to maintain while the starters were getting their breaks, but also add to the scoreboard, come in and hit a couple of threes, maybe get a steal. So watching her, and then of course just her attitude, wanting to be there, obviously putting in the work. It's just good to see, and that Atlanta and all the teams, I think, have a few younger players, and that's good because as we expand, that was the whole point, not to just have Europe players come over that are already halfway through their careers, but to allow for these younger players to come in the league and develop in the league.
Going back to when she was drafted, the draft is such a layered topic to me because I don't know if Tahina stays at Oregon and gets drafted higher than she did as a Gamecock.
Hmm.
It's that whole conversation about Tanaya Latson staying at Florida State. She would have got
Hmm.
drafted before being a Gamecock. I think that scouts for these WNBA teams are potentially understaffed. I don't know
Hmm.
how well they're able to see everything. So
Sure.
they are depending heavily on the tournament. Who's
Hmm.
shining in March Madness? I think that's really evident what we just saw in this past draft with all of the UCLA players being drafted so high. And I really hadn't seen a lot of media about them in the past 2 seasons, other
Hmm.
than, the go-tos like Lauren Betts and Hawkins. But I
Right.
think that the tournaments matter. March Madness matters so much that you have to find your way into that. You got to
Right.
get past the round of 32 in order to get
Hmm.
scouted by a WNBA scout. So I don't know if Oregon, I think they were in like the round of 64, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you're looking at a team like that the same way. You're
Hmm.
not taking that conference as seriously.
Right. That's true.
With the draft, it's just like, it really isn't. Angel said this, but it really isn't about when you're drafted, it's where you're drafted. And it's
Hmm.
really about sometimes what these franchises need. So if the Mystics need guards and
Right.
they got to figure out what that looks like for them. So it's nothing against you necessarily. I think
Hmm.
we get so infatuated with the numbers and the 1 through
Right.
14 or whatever, the first round is, but did you keep a roster? Because as we
Hmm.
can see, people getting cut. It's cutthroat out here.
Yeah.
So let's
Absolutely.
focus on staying on the roster more than we focus on like how we got on the roster. I see that the Atlanta Dream waived Taylor Theory.
Mm.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah. It's tough to see. You want to keep all the folks that were here last year, but I can see why. You know, when you look at the final roster, it makes sense. And they probably held out. The last few people to get waived are probably the people the team would keep if we had larger rosters. You know, so 12 is pretty tight. I mean, that's tight. So I mean, obviously we have the two developmental, positions this year, but even still, I mean, think about how many folks got hurt on Indiana last year, and them
Right.
having to cycle through like six additional people. So yeah, that was tough to see her go, but not impossible, I think, for her to still get somewhere else. People are still getting picked up all over.
You talked about the developmental spot. Are you aware if Atlanta has already announced who they are filling those roles with?
I didn't see. I looked at their page maybe 30 minutes ago, and I didn't see. So
Okay.
mhm,
So she's still in the time frame of landing a developmental contract. And I
right.
and I from what I understand from ESPN, they have to wait at least 48 hours before they clear waivers and can be selected for that. So we could still hear that in the next couple of days. Taylor Theory, when I watched her, she didn't have the confidence to
Hmm.
take the shots that we know she
Yes.
can hit. Like, she was
Yes.
brought in as a knockdown shooter from Ohio State.
Hmm.
Shoot that thing. I've seen her pass up so many shots.
She hesitated all the time. I mean, we would literally be there saying, shoot. I don't know what, yeah, her confidence went somewhere because it just wasn't there. I mean, she would come in for, a shooter. So you're the one in now that should be shooting. And it's just like she would hesitate. And then, as a shooter, once you hesitate, you feel off. And now you want to get rid of the ball just so you can reset to shoot. But yeah, per game there was at least 4 or 5 times where she should have shot and didn't, and then gave it to someone else who wasn't in a good position, and now we got a turnover or something.
I'm just really excited to see what this post play is gonna look like and how it's going to work with the guard lineup that they have. I think Jordan
Hmm.
Canada is such a strong PG, just that true PG. She's gonna
Yeah.
be able to facilitate well, and she has targets that like to run, like, from all 5 positions.
Yep.
So, Atlanta could be a really fast-paced team.
Hmm.
I wanna see who they put in the starting lineup while Bree is out. Is it gonna be
Right.
Sika Kone? Who is it gonna be?
Yeah, she I felt like didn't get a whole lot of time last year either. But man, she can shoot. Like, and she's fast. So I could see that. I could even see them going smaller with Angel not in, not necessarily the starting lineup, but like when they want to be even faster than some of the other teams and just putting in like, 5 guards. Or one that, they're tall enough to be able to get some rebounds and at least, guard the post players. But I'm not sure who I'm thinking would be the 5 that actually end up going when they want to go small.
So, it might look like Ryan,
Alicia.
Jordan, Alicia, Nas, and
Mm,
Angel.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I can see that.
They
'Cause
every
Nas
rebound coming
improved
out the
so much
glass
last
is
year.
theirs.
But yeah, 100%.
Nas and Angel getting to play together is gonna
Mhm.
be fun to watch. I love watching them battle. I'm gonna be a little sad that I don't see them battling because both of them are
Yeah.
really chippy. So when you see
Yes.
them battling, it's a lot of chirping. It's fun.
Mhm.
It
Yep.
brings the best out of both of them. But them together is gonna be I'm interested to see how that unfolds throughout the season, how they build that chemistry.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's gonna be really good, and like you said, that's gonna be a small, fast lineup until Bree is back, which I don't think we have a timeline on, but yeah.
It's gonna be interesting. So, shifting gears a little bit, we got the big news that Kate Martin was waived from the Golden State
Mhm.
Valkyries. How are you feeling about that?
So, I was surprised, but my surprise was more so she kinda became a staple on that team. They're promoting her, she's on their Instagram, like, yeah, she did okay last year. Um, and it's the day before the season starts, so I wasn't in my head. I didn't know that they weren't done. But she I don't know that she's gotten better. In Unrivaled, she struggled this past year. And I think with the new CBA and the earnings, like teams are really like, all right, can't really have personality hire. But there's of course some people who think that she's in the league because of her proximity to Caitlyn and that she may not have actually made it or stayed on if that wasn't the case, which, maybe for the initial signing, just like some of the other people that Paige was able to kind of influence, but she still had to earn her spot. Still had to get through training camp, with the Aces and then again with the Valkyries. So I think that's not really valid at this point.
Kate Martin's situation is a great example of why the WNBA has to increase the roster spots. People underestimate how much a culture player impacts a team because you need good energy in the locker room. You need good leadership in the locker room in multiple places. Like, sure, you're going to have your head of the team, like an Asia Wilson, but who's keeping Asia Wilson happy? That's when Sydney Colson is another player. That's an example. Like, she might not get you the numbers that you need, but if you need hustle when you come, you need someone coming off the bench that has hustle, that knows the system, is unselfish. She can knock down.
Absolutely.
It's a little inconsistent. She hadn't found her consistency yet, but she's definitely a good enough player to be on a roster if we had adequate roster space. You see players in the NBA like that all the time. They don't really ever get playing time, but they're there.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I was just thinking about that the other day. I'm like, there's players. I mean, there's a lot of players in the NBA I don't know right now, but once you get to like the sixth person after that, I'm like, I ain't never seen this man. He could have been at my Publix last week. I have no idea who this man is. And then when you look him up, it's like point something points per game. And it's like that guy has a roster spot and is probably making a minimum $3 million, $4 million. And when we're stuck at 12, when we know just from looking how much money the W's making, it's just a matter of like, all right, well, we want to pay him more, but then we're going to make it so tight that it will increase injuries.
We got to figure it out. And I think that they have to slow down maybe with adding the franchises in order to do that if it's a money thing. Because I know there's a lot that goes into the back end, a lot of things that the franchises have to pay for, and then they have to make sure they're paying the players. But expanding the teams when the roster size is still small, you're spreading the talent kind of thin, because we got to make sure that we're creating the talent that's going to fill the league. Like, we got to make sure that the NCAA women's game is be talent wise. Like, sure, we got players that can be on a team, but are they stars? Are they able to carry a team? Then when we spread the talent out too much, every game isn't competitive. So watch how we grow at the.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the original one.
Okay.
So before we wrap up, we have to get into the GM survey because they got a lot of people in their fields, a lot of opinions going.
Yeah.
So this big question, if you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player in the WNBA, who would it be? And Paige Bueckers was number one with 33%. Do you think that's accurate? If you were a GM, would you start your franchise with Paige Bueckers?
Yeah, I could see that. I'm trying to think, young. So someone who's in, but, maybe a year or two, maybe 3 years in, because you're thinking about longevity, right? If this is the person that you're building your team around to start a new franchise, yeah, there's some folks better than Paige, but are they already 30 plus, which in the W, your time is beginning to dwindle at that point. So I wouldn't want to start with someone in their 30s. She's got the likability. She's, separately as a fan, she speaks up in what feel like the right times. She's pretty well respected among her peers, and so for the folks at UConn, the players that played at UConn, from what we see, seem to respect her. So, if you're going to have a team leader or a team you're building someone around, as you're bringing people, you want people to respect that person and want to play with her and want her to be successful as the face of your franchise, So yeah, that sounds on par with what I would expect to see from the GMs.
Wow, I think you just sold me. I don't know if I thought about it like that. What I got from you is Paige Bueckers cares about people.
Okay.
That's what I heard. And I'm like, wow. Yeah. And she's also a great player. And she, at the core of it though, she actually cares about you. And people really feel does. That. And relationships matter so much when you're climbing the ladder.
Yeah, I mean, just from the 6 or 7 years that I've watched her do both basketball and things off the court, it feels genuine. And that is going to get you buy-in for new fans, I think, more than just the razzle dazzle of her gameplay. Eventually that might get old, but people then feel committed and want to go and talk about it after the game and get other people to, come. I think that's the difference, and the things that she aligns herself with, giving back to, all types of organizations, like those things, in my opinion, for WNBA fans, those things matter. That may not matter in all the different leagues. That might not even be a factor, but I think in the W it is. And so that's a person your city can get behind. There'll be people, I know there'll be people at the Dallas games that probably never even considered watching women's basketball because of who Paige is as a person. So if I'm a GM, at the end of the day, I'm sure they have their P&L, and money is also part of the reason. So there could be some other folks that just their play would be great, but you as a GM, I would think you're looking at all of it, So
You're right. I think Dallas made some really strong moves when they brought in the vet presence for the locker room. You got Alicia Clark, who's a champion, has always been revered for her locker room and the culture that she brings. You have Elena Smith and Jess Shepard, who both just played for a championship. They were in the finals. They have that experience right now. So that was some championship level moves. Dallas could be a sleeper team that tries to make a run at the playoffs. They would have to go through Las Vegas. I think every team is going to have to go through Las Vegas.
Right.
So I don't know. They just had a good preseason showing against them, but I'm not holding
Yeah,
nothing
sure.
against the Aces because we saw what happened last season.
Exactly. That was insane. So yeah, beating the Aces before, August is just okay, it might happen. But can it happen again 4 times in a row, in a potential finals? That's the difference.
Well, since we're talking about UConn, I want to bring up Napheesa Collier.
Oh, okay.
We've already talked about the physicality part. I don't agree with her. If you follow me on Threads, I don't agree with her. I don't even think you needed to get my statement. If you follow me at all, then you
Right.
know I don't agree with them changing the rules about physicality. But if you watch the entire interview, she also talked about how she didn't sign to the Lynx for more than a year. And the interviewer was kind of pressing her on her future in Minnesota, and she evaded answering. She kind of just like, I don't know what the future holds.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because she's a player who I would think that is a Minnesota Lynx through and through. I thought that she was going to start and retire with the Lynx. But this made me feel like I'm not so sure. And then we talk about Dallas, and then they are the mini Minnesota Lynx from last season. And they also have Paige Bueckers. That would be a power move if she wanted to go on down and do some things with her old teammates and her UConn
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. How do you feel about what she said and not committing to the Lynx?
Yeah, so first off, of course, if you follow me, you also know I did not agree with her with the physicality part. I was like, what? This is like alternate universe stuff. And I think it was also based on, obviously the injury and her thinking just personally. And I could imagine I'd be feeling the same way, but just to kind of say a blanket thing like that as a top 10 player in the league that people revere very highly, just to me, that adds to the narrative that some players are getting beat up, and it allows fan bases to feel like, well, even Napheesa agrees it's too rough. So I just didn't like that for those reasons.
It wasn't a dog whistle, but it was some
I
type of
didn't like.
signal.
Yeah.
I didn't love it.
Me either. But as far as Minnesota, I mean, I think that probably shows that over the offseason, she really thought to herself, can we win in Minnesota? Because so close 2 years in a row. I mean, that is got to be very frustrating, right? And so, there could be lots of things that she was trying to decide. And it's like, you know what? Let me give it one more run with this coach and this front office and, who they put together. And then I think she'll go where she needs to go to win. It kind of feels like Kevin Durant. Like I might need to jump ship here for the betterment of my career. And maybe I go over to a team that's, maybe she isn't the star, not necessarily not the star if she went to, let's say, Dallas, but it's notoriety wise going to be Paige's team probably for the foreseeable future. So yeah, I mean, interesting, but I feel like the way the W is and the way people shock us every day, I don't know why we're still shocked when things happen because it's always what you least expect. I mean, there's just in no realm did I think Angel was coming to Atlanta, although I was hoping, but that was truly shocking. So to me, it's just like no move is probably going to be more this year more shocking than that scenario. But yeah, I can see her giving it one more run and then trying to figure out like, okay, what's best, you know?
I believe I would be hurt if she left Minnesota.
Yeah.
I would be hurt. I would love it though if she did go to Dallas. That would make things really interesting. And I think you're on to something with her not necessarily being the star.
Mm-hmm.
If they take some of that pressure off of her and she teams up with another high level player, that would be great for her. I think she
Right.
needs that.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of games that she was having to produce so much and then, she gets hurt because you're overextended. So I think it would be nice for her to be able to share the wealth when it comes to being the scorer, the facilitator, the leader, all the things. So I mean, she's going to be doing that this year. Or we're going to
Olivia
have to.
Miles might give her something though. Olivia Miles
Yeah,
is,
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I'm
she's
expecting
ready.
her to be very impactful. I think she's gonna get a lot of playing time.
Absolutely. You can't deny it at this point. She's ready. The word that
Mhm.
I keep using for her is audacity. She has the audacity to be great in this league.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the more reps she gets, I believe the more efficient she'll get. But the fact that she's taking those shots that we're used to her taking, she's
Mhm.
gonna knock them down. I think
Yeah.
she's gonna make a strong run for Rookie of the Year. I hope
Absolutely.
that fee I would be hurt if fee left, but if she does leave, I would only want her to go to Dallas as long as the Dallas's roster is the way that it is right now. I think that would be really cool. They'll make
Okay.
them one of these super teams that people like to talk about, and it'll just I
Mhm.
don't know, it'll feel like South Carolina against UConn when they play the Aces. Even though it's Asia really like the big South Carolina, it's just Asia's team, and it just gives me South Carolina
Right.
vibes.
Right. I
That
get
would
it
be
though. I'm following.
yeah. But I appreciate you coming on and talking hoops with me. This was a
Of
great conversation,
course.
man.
Yeah, always. It's always fun.
And I want people to know because some people sleep. They don't know that you hooped. Like, you're not just a
Yeah.
talking head on here that's just like a fan of the game, even though there's nothing wrong with that, just being an
Sure.
observer. You participated in that.
Yeah, I still play. I was just in the gym a couple days ago. But yeah, I played in the CIAA. I played at Fayetteville State, so D2, and played what middle school, high school, college. Played all 4 years, and yeah, I was actually a shooting guard. So I mean, I'm tall. I don't know why I'm doing the.
She
I
tall,
am
y'all.
I'm tall. I think a lot of people would just assume I probably played in the post, but when I played in college, I was probably 30 pounds smaller than this. So I was
Wow.
so thin. I was like DeWanna Bonner thin, but with no muscles.
Mm.
So I was going in the paint to cross people up that were slower than me, but I was not going in there to post anybody up at any point ever. I was a 3-point shooter and, driving to the basket and fast breaks and stuff like that. I played or ran track also. So my thing was quickness and I just happened to be tall, which was great because sometimes, guards are shorter in college and I would be guarding someone who's pretty short and maybe they beat me, but I'm going to block their shot because I'm can quick get back on D and do all the things. So yeah, yeah. There's plenty of people who never played and they talk, but I don't normally talk about the fact that I did play. Sometimes people are like, "You don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, "Actually, that is a foul." Because I know.
It's so funny
Yeah.
to see those kind of comments. They're like, "Well, if you played, you would know." Bro, you don't even know, bro. Like,
Yeah. I
really
still
hoop for
hit,
it.
you know, about 30% of my threes at this point. So
Let them know. Well, make sure y'all lock in with ARP on all platforms. Let them know where they can find you. They need to catch on to because you talk hoops all the time. Like, if you want a consistent content creator that's talking about women's basketball, follow Angela Perry because she keeps me in the know when things happen sometimes.
do you know, basically, I get your stuff in my inbox from all my followers every day. I'm like, do y'all not know I see her stuff? They're like, hey, in case you didn't know, this is happening because Cassie's made a video about it. I'm like, I did too. So one time I was like, I did too. And they were like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, her video is actually great though. Like I already watched it, liked it, commented, but thanks. So yeah, we appreciate it. Definitely appreciate you reaching out. I'll see you the 17th, right? You're going to be at the first home game?
I'm not going to be at the first home game.
Cassie!
I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not going to the Atlanta Dream first home game. You
Wow.
will catch me in Vegas in
Okay.
July. I'm going to keep y'all posted on that. I will be in Las Vegas in July, but I won't be able to make the opener for the Atlanta Dream. I'm sorry, but you got to let us know. I'm sure you're going to document everything.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm going to go to a Vegas game too, so we might have to connect because I haven't picked the game I'm going to go to. But I have not seen the Aces in Vegas play. So
Me
I've
neither.
only yeah. So I want to do that this year.
Yes, that's
Yep.
my birthday gift. I'm so excited about it. Hoops Tribe, I'm going to keep y'all in the know because we're going to have to do a link up. The Hoops Tribe in Vegas, and there's a lot of y'all, actually. I see y'all on Threads. We got to all link up. ARP, appreciate you coming in. As always, folks, let's talk hoops.